All right, class. Hey, welcome to week 4. We're past the halfway point and we're trugging along. So, welcome to this week. This week we're going to discuss the blood, the heart, and lymphatic system. First, we're going to start off with the blood. Okay, so the blood, what does it do? Okay, it's there for transportation, transposes oxygen, nutrients, and waste. It's there for regulation, regulation being your temperature regulation, acid base, electrolyte balance also, when we talk kind of as it relates to homeostasis, remember that. And it's also there for protection, to protect any type of infection or any type of bleeding. So what happens to the tissue? When it's deprived of oxygen, the tissue dies. And that's what's called, if you ever heard of it, it's called necrosis. So your tissues need oxygen, and that's what the blood is there to transpose that oxygen there. The other thing we have is, I don't know if you've heard the term vasoconstriction and vasodilation. That as a result to temperature, okay? So what happens is with vasodilation, that brings blood to the surface and allow the heat to dissipate, okay? So whenever you put a hot pack on, I'm using that as an example, or if you get hot, your blood vessels vasodilate. That means they open up to allow more blood flow to that area. On the other side, you have vasoconstriction. That actually shuts the blood flow off. So if you put a cold pack or something cold, or you're cold on the outside, those blood vessels decrease because there's no blood flow to the area. And that's, remember, you got to warm your hands up and get them moving real fast in order to produce heat so you can warm up so there's more blood flow to the area. So some of the characteristics of blood, whole blood has a viscosity. It's about 3 to 5 times thicker than water. The typical pH of blood is 7.35 to 7.45. The other characteristic of blood is plasma. Okay, plasma contains water, electrolytes, ions, and waste. It also has plasma proteins in it, and it also has serum, which typically the serum is the plasma minus whatever clotting factors you have. So what causes the blood color is typically the amount of oxygen that's in the blood. So the more oxygenated blood you have, the more red it is. Next thing about blood is it has 2 parts, okay? One, as we said earlier, is the plasma. Plasma represents about 55% of the total blood volume. Plasma itself is like clear yellowish liquid. There's also formed elements inside the blood also, which consists about 45%, the remaining 45% of the total blood. You have erythrocytes, which are your red blood cells, leukocytes, which are your white blood cells, and your thrombocytes, which are your platelets. Okay? Hemopoiesis, I'm pretty sure I pronounced that right, consists of the production of red blood cells inside the system. So remember, blood is produced, when we talked about earlier, inside the bone, but it also goes into the production of white blood cells is leukopoiesis, and the production of platelets is called thrombopoiesis. Now, as it relates to platelets, those platelets are the things that, say you cut yourself, okay, and you start to bleed, it develops a scab, okay? Those are the platelets that are coming on top, all right, to try to protect so there's no blood loss, all right? Next thing you have 4 different blood types, okay? You have type A, you have type B, you have type AB, and you have type O. Okay, so your type A has an A antigen on the red blood cells. It has an anti-B antibodies on the plasma. Whereas type B has B antigens on the red blood cells and anti-A antibodies on the plasma. Type A and B have both the A and B on the red, but it doesn't have A or B on the antibodies for plasma. Type O has neither A or B, but both A and B. So what would you think would be the universal donor blood, based on what I just told you. If you said the universal blood type would be O, you're correct. It also means that type A and B also could be universally transposed to a donor also. Next thing we're going to talk about is the heart. Okay, the heart is located between the second rib and the fifth intercostal space. It has an apex, which is the pointed part of the heart. It has a base, which is a little bit more flattened, and the anterior part is called the pericardium. So the primary function of the heart is to pump and force blood throughout the body through the blood vessels. The heart itself is about the size of your fist, probably a little bit weighs less than a pound. The heart there's different layers of the heart. Okay, there's the endocardium. Remember, endo is in. The myocardium, that's muscle, and then you have the epicardium, which is on the outside. The next, you have the pericardium. Okay, there's 3 different layers inside the covering. Okay, the peri means outside, so you have an epicardium, the parietal cardium, and a fibrous pericardium. The pericardial space is has about 10 to 30 milliliters of fluid inside of it. The heart itself has chambers, and then I'll give you some of the vessels, all the great vessels, as they say, of the heart. So the chambers, you have your right atrium, you'll have your left atrium, the right ventricle, and the left ventricle. Your great vessels, you have the vena cava, and these are those vessels that come out of the heart. Okay, your vena cava, the pulmonary trunk, the pulmonary vein, and the aorta. So the function of the pulmonary circulation, so you have pulmonary circulation and you have systemic circulation, and I'm going to explain that to you, the last thing we'll talk about. So the function of pulmonary circulation is to pump blood through the body, pump blood through the lungs, pick up oxygen, and then get rid of carbon dioxide. That's basically what it does. But when we talk about pulmonary circulation, the path, it starts at the right side of the heart. It gets that deoxygenated blood. Blood goes into the superior and inferior cava, then pumps into the lungs, where it grabs that oxygen, and then it's sent back to the left side of the heart. That's called pulmonary circulation. Then you have the systemic circulation, whereas the oxygenated blood that comes from the heart then is pumped out through the organs, okay? And the systematic circulation of the path follows that whole path through the organs and passes through the right side of the heart, and then it starts all over again and goes back to the lungs so it can get that oxygen again. And it's also grabbing that carbon dioxide to pass it out. That's where that gas exchange is done. So you breathe in, oxygen goes into the blood through the capillaries, then the carbon dioxide comes in, and then you breathe it out. That happens on a systemic basis. That's how that works. All right, last thing we're going to talk about is the lymphatic system. Now, just as a real thing about the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system, it has vessels, just like the blood vessels. The difference between the two is that the blood has the advantage of the heart to pump throughout those vessels. So for every blood vessel, you have a lymphatic vessel running next to it. They run parallel to each other. The lymphatic system does not have a pump, does not have a heart to pump the fluid through. It has to go through via muscle contractions. So whenever you're moving, whenever you're running, jumping, or what have you, as your muscles contract, that's when that lymph is being passed through the body. So the lymphatic system itself has 3 main functions. It returns the interstitial fluid to the body, absorbs fat, absorbs any kind of fat vitamins, and it also helps protect the body from any type of infection. The lymph itself is very clear. It kind of resembles plasma itself. The blood vessels, the lymphatic vessels, they drain into the interstitial fluid. As I said earlier, they run parallel with the veins. Every organ in the body has a rich supply of lymph. So as I said earlier, you have to have muscle contractions in order for that lymph to pass through the body. So that working of the skeletal muscles, the chest, when your chest goes up and down, that also helps, in any type of rhythmic contractions inside the smooth muscles that allows the lymph to pass. Now there's two ducts. Think about your body like a drain. That lymph has to go into somewhere to drain into the body. So you have two drains. There's one lymphatic duct in the right lymphatic duct, and there's also one in the thoracic region, in the region itself. And both of those ducts drain right into the subclavian vein, which goes out through the whole system itself. But again, it has to have muscle contractions in order to be able to pass through the system. That's it, okay? Remember your assignment formats, okay? Everything is posted, how your assignment should be. Discussion board formats, that's posted in the announcements too. Make sure when you ask a question, when you do your response post, make it substantive. Ask an open-ended question to engage your classmates. You guys have been doing very well at that. Keep it up. Also, I posted the tutoring sessions in the course, so if you're having problems and you need to get a little extra learning of the material, participate in the tutoring sessions. Once I get the recording, I will post a recording, so if you're unable to attend, you can listen to those also. You guys know the late policy. Make sure you get all your assignments in on time. I post notices out there for you to know when things are due. Also, my office hours are on Mondays from 5 to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's going to be just sit in the waiting room. When I let you in, just come on in and ask any questions you may have. My door will be open. Not only that time, but if you send me messages via Canvas, I will get back to you as soon as I can with any responses, any questions you may have. All right? Everyone have a great week. Have a great weekend, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week. Everyone take care.